Hey you, welcome back to Amusement ASMR, where thrill meets chill. Today I'm taking you on a very special version of the world famous studio tour at Universal Studios Hollywood in honor of its 60th anniversary. Now, this 60th celebration and the extra special extended version of the studio tour is running from April 26th to August 11th of this year. So, I'm going to be your guide today on the world famous Universal tour that started it all. Now, unlike Universal's usual studio tour guides, you're not going to see me on the screen talking to you as we tour around because, well, I'd rather show you what I'm seeing instead. And because I don't like being on camera. But you'll still have the dulcet sounds of my voice. Don't you worry. So, this is a map of where we'll be going on our tour today. There isn't really a map of the studio tour route that exists, so I had one printed out from Google Maps. And as you can see, I've highlighted the route, and we're gonna follow along with my trusty highlighter right here. So, let's get started, shall we? Now remember, we're not going to be looking at this too much because I want you to see what I saw on the actual studio tour itself. So, let's kick off our tour from right here at the Universal Studio Tour in Universal Studios Hollywood. All right, welcome aboard the world famous studio tour. Now, when I rode this tram, it was full of annual pass holders because one of the perks of being a Universal annual pass holder is getting special previews of things before they open to the general public. Like this extended studio tour that they designed especially for this year to commemorate 60 years of taking people behind the scenes and showing us how they bring movies to life. And the whole reason that we even have this theme park, actually 7 theme parks across the globe, and a new one coming in Orlando with Epic Universe in 2025 next year. So excited for that. And it's all because of this studio tour. And today, you get to come along on my annual pass holder preview of this special anniversary studio tour, which, yes, is also now open to the public. So you should also go and actually ride it when you get the chance. But until then, you have me and this special tour. So now we're going to head off in just a moment. So let me grab the steering wheel. Just kidding. I'm not actually driving. Duh. I will leave that to my actual driver from this recent studio tour. One of the best drivers in the biz. Give it up for Ernie. Ernie is so good at driving this route, he could honestly do it blindfolded. In fact, why don't you do that, Ernie? Pop that blindfold on. Give these people a show. I'm just kidding. They do take safety very seriously on this tour. In fact, there are a few safety rules on board this vehicle when you ride the studio tour. Now, many of them don't apply to you since you're watching this from the safety and comfort of your own personal screen in your own personal home or living room or your bed or your porcelain throne, wherever you are. No judgment. But one thing that I do want to warn you about is that there will be some sudden movements, some fire and water effects and possibly some louder noises than your usual ASMR video. I will try to keep them minimal, but I also want to give you the full, proper experience of this tour, so be forewarned and get excited. Now, they also don't allow any standing, smoking, or selfie sticks on board the moving tram, but again, we don't really have to worry about those things here, do we? Because you're not actually on this tram. So I don't really care if you do any of those things where you are. It's your life. Maybe you like filming yourself with your handy-dandy selfie stick while you're watching YouTube videos. I don't know. You do you. Now, this experience dates back even older than 60 years because Universal Studios initially opened up their studio to the public on March 15th, 1915. Founder Carl Laemmle invited the public to watch silent movies being made, and guests could walk from set to set and marvel at the stages and all the new technology involved in filmmaking. But then, with the invention of sound in pictures in the mid-1920s and the need for quiet on set, that original walking tour ended. Then it wasn't until the 1960s, under the leadership of company chairman Lou Wasserman and executives Al Dorskin and Jay Stein, that the idea of the tour returned when Gray Line bus tours, which originated in Hollywood, made a stop at the Universal gates. And then, on July 15th, 1964, was the very first red and white candy-striped glamour trams that took 67 passengers on a 2-hour driving tour of the Universal lot, and the world-famous studio tour was born. It started with just 2 drivers, 2 guides, and 1 lonely little ticket seller out on Lankershim Boulevard, right here. And attractions like the burning house and the rock slide helped to make it the institution that it is today. And both of those attractions were right here in this area that we're driving through right now. Of course, now they're paving the way for new things like the Fast and Furious roller coaster, which is being built right here on your left. That's slated to open sometime in 2026, hopefully in the earlier part of that year, but 2026 is really all we know so far. Okay, and now we're coming around this road here, and we're coming up in just a moment to this spot right here where you will see the fire station, Firehouse 51. Now, it's a real working fire station because this park is also a real deal city. They've got their own zip code, sheriff's station, medical services, and the firehouse station, Firehouse 51, which is actually where the burning house used to be. Every time a tram drove past it, it would catch on fire, and then it would go out as soon as the tram drove away. Then they tore it down in 1992 and replaced it with something a little bit more practical, a fire station. But as a Universal fan, you probably already know that this is the only place in the world that is both a film and television studio and a theme park. And they do every step of the filmmaking process right here every day. That includes everything in pre-production, like writing the script, casting the actors, designing the set, the costumes, all that good stuff. Everything in post-production, like editing, putting the film together, adding sound effects and special effects and CGI. And then, of course, everything in between, which is production, when the cameras are actually rolling. The acting, the stunts, all that fun stuff. And all of that, just about 80 to 90% of that happens inside the buildings we're about to start passing on your left, called sound stages, which we'll start to see as we drive down here. Now, sound stages are large, empty warehouses that are soundproofed, light-proof, weatherproof. This gives them complete control over the environment so that they can shoot for those long 8 to 10 hour days. Now, the first of those sound stages on your left is soundstage number 12. It's the oldest and biggest, about 30,000 square feet, and it's where they've built some incredible sets, like the elaborate Whoville sets in Ron Howard's 2000 film, How the Grinch Stole Christmas. Now, we are on an area of our lot called the front lot. This is the space in between the theme park and the studio. So on your right, as we drive down here, is Super Nintendo World, which is home to two of Universal's biggest stars, Mario and Luigi. But this area of the lot is where they used to have some pretty cool off-tram experiences. People could actually get out and walk around in places like Lucille Ball's dressing room. They could even go into the offices of famed costume designer Edith Head, and they could watch the special effects show hosted by Robert Wagner. But now, these are where they have things like sound stages where they produce a lot of their Peacock television shows. In fact, a Peacock original series films right here in these sound stages on your left, number 7 and 8. It's the home of the dramatic reboot of Fresh Prince of Bel-Air called Bel-Air. This new version stars Jabari Banks and Ollie Sholitan as Will and Carlton. Now, Bel-Air also uses this soundstage 14 on your left, which you can also see on the map right here. And all the vehicles you see parked out here, this is what we call base camp for Bel-Air. So these are all of their actor trailers, makeup trailers, wardrobe, catering, restrooms, everything. And then the trucks that carry things like the props, the lights, the sets, the equipment. So anytime you have all of these vehicles together, we refer to it as base camp. Now we're continuing along, and we're going to come across some new sound stages on your right. These sound stages have been used for television shows dating all the way back to the 1950s, like Leave It to Beaver and I Love Lucy, but they've also been used more recently for things like Never Have I Ever on Netflix. These parking spots here say BOATS, and that's an acronym. It stands for Based on a True Story, which is a fun true crime show starring Kaylee Cuoco that's also streaming on Peacock. And then The Good Place and Superstore also filmed out here. Superstore with Academy Award winner America Ferrera, and The Good Place starring Kristen Bell and Ted Danson. Now, Ted Danson is actually working on a new TV show in Soundstage 19 here, and it's going to be called A Classic Spy. And you'll be able to see the parking spots for A Classic Spy in just a minute. A Classic Spy is just one of 4 or 5 TV shows that have been filming out here on the lot pretty recently. And I could go on and on about Ted Danson. His work on The Good Place, Mr. Mayor, A Classic Spy, Cheers. But most people want to talk about the real star of Peacock, Ted. The friendly, fuzzy, foul-mouthed teddy bear who is the star of his own Peacock original series called G. You guessed it, Ted. So let's drive by, and you can see Ted standing there waiting to greet us with a bottle of beer. Now, he used to be holding a martini glass that was filled with whatever recently fell out of the sky, so a truly dirty martini, which is also a nod to the term martini shot in filmmaking, which means the last shot of the day on a film set. So I'm kind of sad they replaced it with this beer here, but oh well. Now, Ted is a Peacock original prequel series set in 1993, and that means that very skilled craftspeople had to build a high school, a house, even recreate downtown Boston with exterior sets and facades as it looked back then in the 1990s, which, can you believe, was over 30 years ago now? Isn't that crazy? Wow, time flies. Now, Ted is a really fun show, but I should warn you, it is definitely intended for mature audiences only. So, grown-ups, tell the kids to go in the other room before you watch. Now, Ted was executive produced by and starring Seth MacFarlane, and when Seth MacFarlane was working as a producer, he worked out of the production bungalows here on your left. Some of you probably know that these served as dressing rooms for stars like Doris Day, Rock Hudson, and Jimmy Stewart, but now they serve as offices for people like Mark Platt. There's Mark Platt's offices right there. Mark Platt produces Wicked on Broadway and is also producing the highly anticipated 2-part film adaptation of Wicked that's coming out in November of this year. I'm so excited for that. I love Wicked. And now we're driving past offices 5195, formerly belonging to the master of suspense and superfan of the studio tour himself, the one and only Alfred Hitchcock. Now, these sound stages that we're next to here on your left are relatively new. They were built in 2016, and the first thing to film inside them was Hairspray Live, starring Ariana Grande and Jennifer Hudson. And they filmed a lot of their indoor sequences inside those sound stages. The jail, Tracy's home, the high school. But anytime they needed to go to downtown Baltimore to film sequences like Good Morning Baltimore, they would just go right across the street here to our Metropolitan sets, which are right in this area. Now we'll be taking a turn into the Metropolitan sets here in just a moment, but right now we're driving by the base camp of another TV show. These are the trailers for a TV show that'll come out on NBC fairly soon called St. Denis Medical, and that'll star Wendy McLovin-Covey and David Alan Grier. Now, if you've ridden this studio tour before, you probably remember the part of the Metro sets that's Brownstone Street, where Bruce Almighty was filmed, Home Alone was filmed. That is actually going to be the main hero set for St. Denis Medical. They've actually dressed that area up as a hospital. There's going to be an emergency room over there. Their main courtyard is out there too. So that's why we're not driving through that today. But when St. Denis Medical premieres on NBC, keep your eyes peeled because I bet you will recognize these Metropolitan sets. Okay, we are now entering this area here. And if you rode the studio tour before 2008, you might remember the original King Kong. Ah, yes, fond memories. He stood 30 feet tall, and he would shake the tram on the bridge, and the helicopter would crash. It was an amazing spectacle. It was one of the coolest things out here on the back lot. Now, the thing is, King Kong turned 25-ish, and what happens to every famous Hollywood celeb when they turn 25? They have to get a facelift. So they built a new King Kong instead, but that original King Kong lives forever in OG fans' hearts. Now, this street that we're on right now is called London Square. It can play London, but it's also going to be one of the main sets for A Classic Spy with Ted Danson. This little courtyard right here will be featured heavily in that show. And down the street there is Brownstone Street, which you probably recognize from Bruce Almighty with Jim Carrey. You can see right here on the screens that building in the background is the flat wall that we are driving next to right now. You can see in real life that it's just a flat wall that's been painted, but they use a paint technique called trompe-l'œil, which is French for to fool the eye. And on screen, it actually looks fully three-dimensional, which is a really cool effect. Okay, now we're passing by some of the parking spots for the cast of St. Denis Medical. These Metro sets have been used quite frequently, not only for St. Denis Medical, A Classic Spy, Bel Air, a new show called Happy's Place, as well as countless commercials and music videos. If you're a fan of Taylor Swift, her Wildest Dreams music video filmed right out here. And Lady Gaga filmed her Edge of Glory music video out on these metropolitan sets too. This glass building here on your right was the home for Give Me More by Britney Spears. And they helped J-Lo film lots of her Amazon Prime music video out here too. So the Metro sets have been home to a lot of amazing music videos. Now another cool thing that films out here on the Metro sets is not a movie or TV show, it's a game show. Well, a competition show. American Ninja Warrior films their downtown Hollywood scenes out here on the metropolitan sets. So when they say they're in downtown Hollywood, they're actually here. But then there's nothing less real than reality TV. Okay, now I've got some good news for you. Remember that St. Denis medical set I was talking about earlier? Well, we're going to take a little drive through it now and show it to you. So you're going to see how this brownstone street has been transformed by the production of St. Denis Medical. They're actually still getting a little bit of work done, but you can see the emergency room doors have been painted already over there. And this corporate office, which used to serve as the Voice offices in downtown LA, in those early scenes of The Voice when people were auditioning, they were out here on this backlot. And then the auditions actually took place inside one of their sound stages. They were also doing a photo op out here for Ryan Gosling's new film, The Fall Guy. So if you go onto Ryan Gosling's Instagram, one of his relatively recent Instagram posts are the promotional shots for The Fall Guy, a Universal film, and they were all shot out here on the backlot. Now, speaking of things that were filmed here on the backlot, there's probably nothing more iconic than the sets we are about to go visit. We're going to drive this way, continue down here, turn onto Wall Street here, so that we can see this classic spot. Welcome to the Courthouse Square. These sets were used to create Hill Valley in the Back to the Future films, and they represented multiple time periods, 1985, 1955, and the far, far distant future, 2015. To this day, this is one of the most popular sets on the Universal Studio Tour. I wonder what it would be like to go back to those days. If only we had a time machine. Do you think we can get this tram up to 88 miles per hour? Well, I've got some good news, because not only do we have a time machine, but we've also got Doc Brown. Oh, look at Doc there, pacing back and forth, having a good old classic panic. Oh, he's telling us that we're here just in time, and he needs a volunteer. He needs help connecting some cables. Oh, he says the experience will be illuminating. Shocking, some might say. Oh, he's telling us to meet him back here at midnight. Too bad we aren't actually here in real time to help him out, though. So I hope he got the help he needed. Okay. Well, now we have to bid him farewell. Bye, Doc. He says he knows our paths will cross again. See you in the future, friends. Now, Doc Brown is sitting out there with the time machine in what was, of course, Hill Valley for all the Back to the Future movies. But it isn't just Hill Valley from Back to the Future. It's played countless sets over the years. It was used for To Kill a Mockingbird, the sequel of Psycho also filmed out there, the very first episode of The Twilight Zone filmed out in the Courthouse Square as well. And many of these Courthouse Square sets date all the way back to the 1940s, including the courthouse itself. But the courthouse has gone under a couple of changes, just like everything else out here. You can see it no longer has those 4 pillars in front of it. They actually built a false facade in front of that facade to obscure those 4 pillars because people were recognizing it too much from its work in Back to the Future. But it's also where Bye Bye Birdie was filmed. Oh, so many musicals have been filmed out here. Not just Hairspray, but Newsies filmed on this street here as well. And speaking of dance numbers that took place out here, in Austin Powers, The Spy Who Shagged Me, the Burt Bacharach dance number was right here on New York Street. That's right, New York truly is versatile. And one of the key phrases for Universal for a long time was Universal Studios, where the whole world is just around the corner. So that was very, very true. And really still is true to this day, because from one big concrete jungle, we are actually just going to go around this corner to another little jungle over here, and we're going to visit the jungles of Skull Island from Peter Jackson's 2005 film King Kong. Now, on your right, or in just a moment on your left, you're going to see 2 of the original features, retired things from the studio tour. We've got the collapsing bridge, which was a mechanical effect that the trams used to cross. The hydraulic support beams would split and the bridge would seem to collapse. And then there's the runaway train, which was located on our western sets. It would hurtle towards the tram and come to a screeching halt at the last second. They're both now retired, but they were built for the studio tour 50 years ago. And now, here we go, heading into Skull Island, home of King Kong. Let me put on my 3D glasses here so it doesn't look super fuzzy for you guys at home. Oh, here we go. Oh my, dinosaurs. Don't they look menacing? And there's the T-Rex. He's not too scary, right? Oh no, there's 2 of them. Oh, and I don't like that look in their eyes. Oh, it's okay. King Kong is here. Oh, but the T-Rex is not giving up without a fight. Or rather, without eating us. Because clearly that's what he's trying to do. Oh my god. He just took a whole tram car full of people with him. Wow. And we're next. Oh, but here comes King Kong to save the day, beating his chest. Oh, thanks, big guy. No. Okay, bye. Now, I know you at home are just watching this on your screen, so it's not quite as immersive and intense, but trust me when I tell you, it is amazing when you're in the tram, up close and personal, as this is all unfolding in 3D around you. It's really quite something. All right, give it up for King Kong 360 3D. Oh, that was so much fun watching him battle T-Rex and other dinosaurs, like a beautiful crossover of the worlds of King Kong and Jurassic Park. Just like my mug here. T-Rex. Oh, get it? Now, that incredible piece of 3D was created by Peter Jackson and the team at Weta FX. Weta FX is a digital FX company that has worked with Peter Jackson since The Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit. They've worked on the Rise of the Planet of the Apes movies, Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. They've also worked on just about every Marvel and DC movie that you can think of. Avengers Endgame, Infinity War, Guardians of the Galaxy, Wonder Woman 1984. And these screens in here are 2 of the largest movie theater screens in the world. They're 40 feet tall and 180 feet long, so they can wrap around you and create that 360-degree effect. So you feel like the action is happening all around you, creatures coming at you from all directions. Now, you may have noticed that tram of people that got pulled down to their death, which wasn't real people, by the way, don't worry. The tram they were in was not decorated in the red and white candy stripe because they were not on a glamour tram. This tram that we are on now is the newest addition to the studio tour fleet. It's one of the super trams all dressed up in the throwback style with that red and white striping and the scalloped edges. And this glamour tram design was actually created by a Hollywood art director and set decorator named Harper Goff. You may not know his name, but you definitely know his work because I'm sure most of you have seen Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory starring Gene Wilder. Well, he was the man who created all of those amazing sets. And speaking of incredible artists, take a look at this monster mural here on your right, which was created by Los Angeles graffiti artist Tristan Eaton, an homage to our universal monsters featuring the Wolfman, the Gill Man, Frankenstein's monster, the Bride of Frankenstein, and Dracula. Tristan Eaton created this beautiful homage to the stars that made Universal one of the biggest studios in the world, the Universal Monsters. And speaking of stars, take a look off to your left, you'll see the sound stages for The Voice. They've been working on their season 25 live shows. And coming up here on your left as well is the birthplace of one of those Universal monsters. This lake right here, the Hollywood Ocean, was formerly the creature from the Black Lagoon's home. But it was also in 1974 where they added the parting of the Red Sea to the studio tour, inspired by the classic Paramount film The Ten Commandments, starring Charlton Heston. Charlton Heston even made an appearance himself on the opening day to part the Red Sea for studio tour guests. The tram would drive in and give everyone a sea-level view with torpedoes, submarines, battleships. It is a bummer they don't do that anymore, but it is nice to know the history. And speaking of, the creature from the Black Lagoon is also celebrating an anniversary this year, his 70th, the Platinum anniversary. Now, the creature from the Black Lagoon is just one of the hundreds of monsters that they created right here, starting with the OG himself, Dracula, in 1931. I am Dracula. You sure are, Bela Lugosi. Now, these monster movies dating back to 1931 have been so iconic that they are becoming one of the central parts of the new Epic Universe Park with the Dark Universe Land, which will feature rides and attractions themed around the Universal monsters. And all of those Universal monsters which kept them alive during the Great Depression, when most movie studios had to shut their doors and sell off their land, they were thriving here at Universal Studios because they could make so many of those movies right here on their backlot in their own little Europe, which we are coming up to now in this area right here. They can decorate this little European village to be France, Bavaria, Transylvania, Spain, England, Wales, whatever they need it to be. It can even be fictional places like the Kingdom of Genovia for Princess Diaries 2, A Royal Engagement. It can be a small French village for one of the best versions of Cinderella that exists, the one with Brandy and Whitney Houston. That is a Disney film, so that's my one Disney plug here on the tour. But it's also the home to all 4 seasons of The Good Place with Kristen Bell and Ted Danson. Now, this little area on your right is called the Court of Miracles, and this has been featured in nearly every Universal Monster movie. It's the part of the movie where all the villagers gather their torches and their pitchforks and finally take care of that monster terrorizing their town. Now, I don't want you all gathering your torches and pitchforks to rise up against me, at least not yet, because we're only halfway through our tour. But back to those monsters that we love so much. The original was, of course, Dracula, played by Bela Lugosi. And Bela Lugosi was such a big star from that production that they wanted him to play the lead in their next movie, Frankenstein. But Bela Lugosi, being the vain stage actor that he was, very concerned with his looks, he did not care for the extensive amount of makeup that the role was going to require. And he also didn't like that the character doesn't have any lines. So he is purported to have said to the executives, any extra could play this role, it doesn't even have lines. So that's just what Universal did. They hired an extra, a background actor, this guy by the name of Henry William Pratt. Although that didn't carry quite the star power it needed to, so he went by the stage name Boris Karloff. And with the success of Frankenstein, Boris Karloff went on to become the biggest star of the decade. But really much of that was due in part to the work of makeup artist Jack Pierce. Did you know the look of Frankenstein that we all know to this day, the flat top head, the bolts in the neck, that was created here at Universal Studios. That's not in the book at all. They created it. Well, specifically Jack Pierce created it, and it was so effective that it terrified audiences and crew members. People were genuinely terrified seeing Boris Karloff in his makeup, and that's why Carl Laemmle asked him to be led around set with a burlap sack over his head, so as not to terrify the poor crew people working on the production. And now, speaking of terrifying people on set, the next set we're going to drive through, as we come down out of Little Europe over to here, may seem perfectly normal, but as the name on the map here would suggest, there's a lot more in store. But you will see. So here we go. Yep, just your typical metro station. Oh, wait. Uh-oh. What's that noise? Are the lights flickering? Oh my god, the lights are flickering. Oh, it's okay. It's okay. It's just a tremor. We get them all the time in Southern California. Okay, maybe it's more than just a tremor. Oh my god. Oh my god, that's a truck full of hydrogen. Oh my god, don't explode, don't explode. Oh, wait. Oh, and everything's collapsing around us. Oh my god. Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. Wait. What's happening on this side? Oh, that doesn't look good either. Holy crap, there's another train coming. And it's out of control. Oh my god, don't hit us. Oh, okay, phew. Oh, it's gonna be okay. Yeah, spoke too soon. Oh, that's a whole lot of water. Oh my god, it's coming from everywhere. Oh, we're gonna drown. Oh, okay. Oh my god. No, it's okay. It's okay. We're driving out. Oh, we're driving out. Okay, it's okay. We're alive. We're alive. Oh, good. Oh man, I love that earthquake set. It is so realistic and so well done. And that's an 8.3 Richter scale seismic shift that it's replicating. I haven't seen that one on the studio tour in quite some time, since it used to look like a 1989 San Francisco BART station. So I love that it's back now and looking all modern and fancy. But boy, was that terrifying. Now, terrifying your crew is a tradition that they do have here at Universal. The crew of this next film were so hopelessly terrified throughout the weeks of filming because things were not going quite according to plan. Of course, I am talking about the shark from Jaws, which is right here on our trusty map. But don't worry, we took care of the shark, we caught it, so there's nothing to worry about. You're safe and sound at home, but I'm sure you're still worried about everybody in the tram here, so don't worry. Oh my gosh, is that a fin? There's another shark? Well, it's okay. Fortunately, none of us are in the water, so... Oh my gosh, there's someone in the water. Oh, hey man, you gotta get out of there. Come on, quit fooling around, man. Oh my gosh, that's a lot of blood. Okay, this is awkward. This was gonna be a fun 60th anniversary studio tour video, and we've all just watched someone die. Wow. Well, don't worry, everybody. We're gonna keep you safe at least. We're gonna hide you right behind this dock, the one that's full of gasoline. Oh god. Oh. And that exploded. Oh my gosh. Oh, we're gonna need a bigger tram. Shark. Alright, give it up for Bruce the shark, everyone. Now, you probably know that the production of Jaws was plagued with many issues. So much so that the crew nicknamed the production Flaws. The mechanical shark kept malfunctioning, sinking to the bottom of the ocean because of the corrosion from the salt water, yada yada yada. But did you know that Steven Spielberg wasn't the original choice for the director either? The original choice for director of the film was a man by the name of Dick Richards, and Dick Richards wanted to film in freshwater tanks. That's why the sharks were designed for freshwater. But then he was fired because he kept referring to the shark as a whale. He would say things like, yeah, the whale will come up to the boat and he'll bite the boat. And the producers thought to themselves, this might not be the right guy to direct our shark movie. So they hired Steven Spielberg, who at the time was a complete unknown. He had only directed one movie, a movie called Duel, about a truck driver chasing a poor motorist on the highway. And because of the successful suspense of that movie, they thought to themselves Steven Spielberg might be the right guy to direct Jaws. And of course, the film Jaws, plagued with many massive issues along the way, was saved by the film's editor, Verna Fields. She was able to add in all of the scary footage that looks like it's being filmed from the shark's point of view. Okay, well, now working with water can be very tricky here in Hollywood. So, fortunately, they have all the tools of the trade right here on their old Mexico sets as we pull around to this area of the map. They've had a weather effect here on the back lot since opening day, March 15th, 1915. Carl Laemmle wanted to give everyone a bit of a spectacle, and that first weather effect got so out of hand it accidentally caused a flash flood. Can you imagine? Celebrities were soaked from head to toe. Now, fortunately, that's not going to happen to you today because you're not even here right now. You're at home or wherever watching this on a screen, so you are safe. Me and all these other nice folks on this tram, however... what's that sound? Does anyone else hear that? Is that lightning? Is that thunder? Oh, look, a rainstorm. Yeah, oh. Oh, that's a whole lot of water. Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. Oh, phew, okay. we just survived the flash flood, which has been getting people soaked since 1968. You can see it in Big Fat Liar. Of course, in that scene in Big Fat Liar, Paul Giamatti had a stunt double for the actual flash flood. Now, actors use stunt doubles all the time. It's nothing to be ashamed of. Stunts are particularly tricky, and no genre features stunts quite as successfully as the genre of the Western. Here we are arriving into our Old West sets right through here. Now, I can attest as a former stunt performer that stunts are very carefully choreographed, like the punches and kicks in Western movies, and anytime glass is broken in a movie, it's made out of something called candy glass, which is basically just melted sugar. Or if an actor gets a chair broken over their head or goes through a wall, it's usually made out of balsa wood and may even have been scored ahead of time to prepare it to break more easily in a specific way. Now, on your screen here are the legends John Wayne and Kirk Douglas. What you might not know by looking at this is that John Wayne is 6'4", but here they are looking like they're the same height. That's movie magic. Also, some of the doors out here in the Old West were built teeny tiny so that if you had a teeny tiny little cowboy like Kirk Douglas or someone even smaller, you could put him in front of a small doorway and you only film him from the waist up and the camera never knows the difference. It's a little trick called forced perspective. Now, here's a fun fact about Clint Eastwood you might not know. Clint Eastwood and Burt Reynolds were both fired from Universal on the same day. The same executive producer decided that Clint Eastwood was too ugly and Burt Reynolds was not a good enough actor. But here's the thing. You've heard of Clint Eastwood and Burt Reynolds. You know who you haven't heard of? The producer who fired them. So they do make mistakes at Universal from time to time. In fact, a movie that was successful for Universal in the 1970s, called American Graffiti, was directed by young, up-and-coming director George Lucas. And George Lucas had such success with American Graffiti that he came to Universal with his next project. He said, get this, I want to make a movie about space samurais. And Universal said, that sounds terrible, and we're not going to make that. And then, in 1978, a little movie called Star Wars came out, and the rest is pretty much history. So, they do own their mistakes here at Universal. Now, speaking of Hollywood legends, we're passing one of my favorite houses on the backlot now because it's the home of the iconic Dolly Parton. This is the best little whorehouse in Texas. You know, I wonder if I'm allowed to say that word on YouTube. You know what? I'm feeling bold. I'll even say it again. Texas. Now, this has also been the home of the Firefly House for Rob Zombie's House of a Thousand Corpses. It's been Angela Lansbury's home for Murder, She Wrote. In fact, Jaws Lake that we just drove through was Cabin Cove, Maine, where Murder, She Wrote took place. And on your left here, this green house that you're seeing is Matlock's house from the TV series Matlock. And Matlock is actually coming back. They are remaking it with Kathy Bates as the lead character. I know, all these reboots of old shows makes me feel like I'm traveling back in time. Because here we are at the gates of Lion Estates from Back to the Future. See what I did there? I mean, we could try to get this tram up to 88 miles per hour. We have a long enough stretch of road to do it. This road that we're on right now is called Steven Spielberg Drive. They've named most of these streets after the luminaries who've worked here over the years. Kirk Douglas Drive, James Stewart Avenue, Louis Beavers Drive, and the longest road, Well, you don't make E.T., Jaws, and Jurassic Park for Universal Studios and not get the longest road named after you. But the other name for this road is Wilderness Road. And you can probably guess why. Because on your right and your left, you can see lots and lots of wilderness. And I know some of you are probably thinking, why do you have all this undeveloped land? Hello, build another roller coaster. Orlando has like 20. Okay, well, here's the thing. This is the biggest, the busiest, and the oldest movie studio. They're the only one large enough to have 80 acres of undeveloped land. And that actually comes in handy more often than you might think. Anytime you need to film something that takes place in the middle of nowhere, where your character is lost in the woods, think of how complicated it would be to get your camera, your crew, your equipment, your actors, your bathrooms, your catering, all out to the middle of nowhere. It's much easier to create the middle of nowhere right out here on a tiny little segment of the back lot. So think of films like Bird Box with Sandra Bullock on Netflix when she's kind of lost in the woods. That was filmed right out here in a little segment of the back lot. Angela Bassett's TV show 911, which is a Fox show, they've also filmed some rescue sequences out here. And the lead character, Debbie from Never Have I Ever, her limo breaks down on the way to prom right out here on Wilderness Road. Now, speaking of mechanical failures, there is no vehicle that failed quite as badly as the next one we're about to see, because in a moment we are going to turn onto the largest set here on the back lot, an airplane crash site from Steven Spielberg's 2005 War of the Worlds. That is right down here on Psycho Pass. Now, you may already know that this is a real plane that Universal purchased from an airplane graveyard to create this amazing disaster set. But did you know it's not the only thing that filmed out here? For 5 years, nothing else was allowed to film out here, but when that contract ran up, lots of things started to film out here. Nicki Minaj and Rihanna's music video for Fly used this set. Joel McHale's Community filmed a failed Habitat for Humanity project out here. Even Key and Peele filmed some of their sketch comedy show out here on the War of the Worlds set. Now, in a moment, we're going to be passing on your right something that has been a highlight of the studio tour since 1964, and that is the home of Norman and Mother Bates from the 1960 classic Psycho. And if you look in the doorway here, I think Mother might even be home. Ooh. Now, also coming up on your right in just a moment is something else that is celebrating a centennial. While the studio tour is celebrating its 60th anniversary, the 100th anniversary of the Hollywood sign is also upon us. And in just a moment, you're going to see Universal's scale replica of the Hollywood sign. The letters are about 10 feet tall. The real one's about 45 feet tall, but you got to go on like a 2-hour hike to get a picture with that one. This one, you just got to be right here in the back lot. And for the special 60th anniversary of the studio tour, they've also added a stop right here where guests can get off the tram and go take pictures with this Hollywood sign and other classic Universal movie props. Now, for the first few decades of the studio tour, one of the hallmarks was a visit to the Prop Plaza, where guests could disembark for once-in-a-lifetime photos and chances to interact with characters and vehicles and props from their favorite productions. So, for the 60th anniversary, they've brought that tradition back. So as you can see down here, we're going to pull up and be able to get off the tram and walk around. The Prop Plaza visit is something that's been in the minds of the studio tour executives for a long time. They wanted to bring this part back because it really does give you the chance to get up close and personal with the tools of the trade, the stuff that really brings movies to life. So here we go. We're pulling up to the Bates Motel at dusk. This feels a bit ominous. Now, we start by walking past one of the original glamour trams from the early studio tour days. This is one of the original OG glamour trams. Very nice, very classic, great photo op. And then we walk through a path of a whole bunch of props and set pieces from different Universal movies. Wow, look at all these things. And then to the left here, we have photo ops with the Hollywood sign and picture car. Then next to that, we can walk around the Bates Motel. I think Norman might even be coming out here. Yep, there he is. Nice and creepy. Oh, hi, Norman. Please don't kill me. I mean, I'm not a blonde, so I'm probably safe. And then, continuing back around here, behind the Bates Motel, there are even more photo ops. You can get photos with Dom's Dodge Charger and other cars from the Fast and Furious franchise. Oh, and the Jaws shark that used to sit up in the theme park for many years is over here. Oh, I definitely have to wait in line for this one. I love Jaws, and Bruce, and sharks in general. So, I got a great photo with Bruce here. And there's a King Kong photo op over there as well. Though it is just his arm and hand, the rest is a backdrop, so not quite as exciting, in my opinion. But he does let out an occasional roar that is thrilling. Ooh. Now, this is a limited stop, so we don't have all the time in the world. So once you've seen what you want to see and gotten the photos you want to get and you're ready to resume the tour, you go over here and follow the signs to board a new tram with a whole new tour guide. Not you, though. You're stuck with me, so no new tour guide for you. So now we are going to continue on the rest of our Universal Studio tour. So off we go. Bye, Bruce. Now we're going to take a left and head up this way, up Steven Spielberg Drive, to one of the sets from Jordan Peele's 2022 film, Nope. It's time to visit Jupiter's Claim, a nostalgic, small-time Southern California amusement park owned by former child star Ricky Jupe Park. Now, if you haven't seen this movie yet, you absolutely should. Not only because then you'll understand what this Jupiter's Claim set is all about and what's about to happen here, but also because it is a really good movie. So, in we go to Jupiter's Claim. Over here on the left is the Winking Well, where you can have your picture taken, just like the kids in that old 90s movie, Kid Sheriff. It's actually a fictional movie in the world of Nope. That's the movie that gave Ricky his childhood fame. So he loosely based this amusement park of his on that movie that he starred in. And a little further down on the right is the brand new Star Lasso experience, built to showcase an unbelievable new live show. It's not looking so live right now, though, is it? Because behind this Hollywood fantasy of a gold rush frontier town lies a sinister secret. It is smack dab in the center of a UFO hotspot. Sorry, spoiler alert. If you didn't already know what Nope is about, now you do. But that's all I'm telling you. You'll have to watch it to find out what happens. Though maybe we should be more concerned with what's happening right now. Oh, okay, yeah, this is bad. I think it's time for us to get out. Yeah, how about we turn that key and peel out of here? Alright, well, so there you go. That was an integral set from the film Nope, now available on Amazon Prime. Okay, how about something a little lighter? We're now headed to a part of the studio tour that used to be the Doomed Glacier Expedition, also known as the Ice Tunnel, featured in an episode of The $6 Million Man starring Lee Majors with Andre the Giant as Bigfoot. The tram would climb to an imaginary elevation of 12,000 feet, and the only way back to the theme park was through the ice tunnel, where the smallest sound could trigger an avalanche, which it always did. But of course, this has changed many times since then, and now it's become the Fast and Furious supercharged attraction, as you can see indicated on the map here. Okay, here's a quick rundown of the plot. We have witnessed something that the fugitive Owen Shaw has done, and now he's after us. He's after this very tram. But lucky for you, we're friends with the family. They've graciously allowed us to hide out here in Sullivan's garage. And it sounds like there's a party going on. Roman Pierce, FBI, don't move. That's right, party's over. You're under arrest, right now. Ladies, you might want to back up a little bit. First of all, I don't work for you. Oh, really? Who do you work for? We don't work for nobody. Cop. I suggest you clear out of here. Otherwise, we can't guarantee your safety. Guarantee my safety? I'm the one holding a gun. Yeah, but mine's a whole lot bigger than yours. Hobbs, escort this novice out. Let's go, cookie puss. That line is the best part of this whole thing. Somebody out there really pissed off Shaw. It's gonna get ugly fast. Yeah, don't worry. Lucky for you, our whole family will protect you. Are you kidding me, Roman? You didn't shut off your phone, bro? I gotta call you back. What? It was on vibrate. Shaw traced us. Hobbs can't hold him forever. Letty, Roman, we're up. Driver, move that vehicle. It's about to get real interesting. And once again, I've got my 3D glasses on here so you can see what's going on. No fuzzy business here. And it looks like we've got a chase going on. Ooh, and a lot of gunfire. And missiles. Wow, that was a close one. Or two. And Dom just chilling, hanging from a helicopter like he do. Ooh. Oh boy, big jump. Ride or die. Oh, thank God we made it across. Okay. Everybody okay? We're all okay. And we're all done with Fast and Furious Supercharged. Whew, what a blast. Here we come, back out, through here, back onto Kirk Douglas Drive. And we're also, sadly, coming to the end of our studio tour as we pull back up this road toward the place where we first started, to the studio tour loading area. Thank you so much for joining me and celebrating 60 years of a studio tour at Universal Studios Hollywood. Now give it up for our driver, Ernie, and all of our special guests today. The studio tour is truly where it all began for Universal experiences and destinations. From 2 glamour trams touring around the studio lot in the summer of 1964 to the empire they've become today, with 7 parks all around the world and the upcoming Epic Universe opening next year in 2025. All right, well, we can cap our trusty highlighter now and put that back. And I hope this video made your day a little bit happier and tinglier and more magical, or at least more amusing. Now, go on and take a tour of the rest of my Amusement ASMR channel and see what other soothing amusements you can explore. You can start with this video right here that future me is showing you on the screen right now. Thank you again, and I will see you in that next video.